So, welcome to Juan's World. It's been a while. I've been kind of busy, both with my publishing and teaching, but also with all kinds of things that have gone pear-shaped in the last few weeks. So, happy 2023 to everyone, and maybe if you're like me, you're glad to see the back of 2022 for a number of reasons, and hoping that 2023 will be a step upwards in the right direction. So this is just going to be a kind of omnibus video. I'm going to look a little bit at what happened in 2022 and what's to come in 2023. Mostly I'm going to just look at my celebrations over the Christmas season as a way of just reminding you that I like to unpack Christmas, to do everything slowly and not just all in a hurry. And I know that today, January 2nd, in a lot of parts of the United States, certainly there will be Christmas trees on the curb waiting for collection from the garbage people. But I celebrate the 12 days of Christmas, so we're still in Christmas. We're journeying there. 12th night will be Thursday. Epiphany is Friday, and that will be the very tail end of the Christmas season. Then Monday will be Plough Monday, and then we will make our way towards Shrove Tuesday and Lent, and then into Easter and so forth. I'm not going to go into all of that again. There's plenty of that in past videos. But right now, I want to just look at this season and what it meant to me. So let's get started with that. All right, well, I have a few videos and stills which I'll intersperse here whilst I'm talking, so that it doesn't just consist of me staring at the camera with my minimal Christmas decorations around me. I didn't do very much in the way of decorating this year. Did have some lights, see, you can see them, always have them glowing away at some point. But I don't start off with a big bang. I start off with my Advent wreath only, and I've got, as you can see here, 4 candles on the outside, 3 violet, 1 pink, and 1 white one in the middle, which is the Christ candle. So you light 1 candle, the candle of hope, the first Sunday, and then second Sunday you light 2 candles, third Sunday 3 candles, fourth Sunday 4, then on Christmas Eve at midnight the white, the Christ candle. And so I start off with that, and this year it was the very tail end of November. And before that is Stir Up Sunday, where I make some mincemeat and I make a pudding. And the pudding I actually put in brandy for a year, and I use last year's pudding for this year. And last year I made 2, and I've managed to get through one of the 2, the smaller of the 2. And so now I'm faced with having to get through the larger one before Epiphany, because I like to eat Christmas things only in the Christmas season. So there's an awful lot of spices that I don't use during the year. Or I use them sparingly. So it's what we call the hot spices, the warm spices, things like cinnamon, ginger, cloves, allspice, mace, nutmeg. I mean, I will use them. In fact, I use allspice quite a lot in my beef dishes, and sometimes a little dash of powdered cloves. And my sister, bless her, sent me powdered mace and powdered cloves for my Christmas present. So I've got them for the season. Now ginger, of course, is used in Asian cooking ubiquitously. I mean, it's everywhere. But we use fresh ginger. Powdered ginger is a whole different animal. Powdered ginger is very much more pungent and was originally used, particularly in the Middle Ages in Europe, to add some oomph to peppercorns, because they used peppercorns a lot. They would reuse them in their dishes over and over and over, and they would lose their savor. So cooks would add some ginger to kind of punch it up a little bit. On my balcony, I may show you a picture at some point. I've got a ginger root sprouting. I don't have a garden anymore because I just found that too hard to keep up. In my old apartment, I used to grow tomatoes and royal basil and coriander and sunflowers and even an orchid. And it was nice, but you've got to water 3-4 times a day. And you can't go away because everything will die. So I can't do it anymore. But I thought, well, one of my ginger roots was sprouting, and I thought, okay, well, let's just stick it in some soil and see what happens. And so even now I can't keep up with it. I have to water the ginger in a note on my desk to remind myself, go out there and put some water in it. And it's in a small pot, which is going to have to get enlarged. So what I do at Christmas is pretty much always like standard ideas, although it varies a little bit. So Christmas Eve, I make fish dishes, and long ago, I used to make cockaliki soup, because that's what my father used to make when I was a boy, because my sisters were both married, but they used to come home for the Christmas Eve and stay over for Christmas Day, and he would make a big pot of cockaliki soup, because it's very easy to just keep on the stove warm, and then he'd make, or my mother more likely would make sausage rolls. So sausage rolls and cockaliki was always my Christmas Eve go-to. But then when I lived in New York, I got into the habit of making fish dishes, because Christmas Eve is it's a fasting day, and there are various traditions, particularly Catholic traditions, particularly in New York. Italian Americans in New York, which are actually Sicilians, not strictly speaking Italians, they like to make 7 fish dishes on Christmas Eve, which also reminds me of the poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which takes place on Christmas Eve. And it's stated in the poem that it's a fast day, but because Arthur was so generous and had such wonderful cooks, they only cooked fish, but it felt like a feast day because he made so much. So I do something similar to that, and I'll see if I can show you some images of my fish dumplings and fish soup, sour fish soup from Cambodia, some shumai, like made with shrimp, a shrimp salad with pasta. That was Christmas Eve. And Christmas, I wanted to cook a duck, but I couldn't find a duck for Christmas. But I could find a black chicken. Now, it's a black chicken you don't find very often here, but they're not uncommon. Their skin is black, their bones are black, their internal organs are mostly red because, of course, they have to get blood, and their blood isn't black. Their feathers are bright white, so when you see them, kicking around, they don't look black at all. Well, except that the cocks have a black cock's comb. So I got a black chicken, which I roasted. It's fairly standard, stuffing, roast potatoes, roast leeks, roast onion, some peas, and a gravy. All very standard stuff. And then for Boxing Day, which you're always supposed to have leftovers, although historically I used to do a big feast on Boxing Day, because it was Christmas Day was just my family, just my wife, my son, and me. And then Boxing Day, everyone was y'all come. So I usually had like a small Christmas pudding for Christmas Day, and then a massive Christmas pudding for Boxing Day, and a whole different set of things to cook. Like a big chunk of beef, and maybe some sausages. I don't know. But now that I live alone, it's just a leftover day. So I made what I call black-a-leaky soup. That is the remains of the black chicken, poached with leeks, which is pretty nice, because the black chicken is actually a fairly tough old bird. The roasted, it was okay, but not a lot of meat on it. So after Christmas dinner, there wasn't a lot to put in soup, and the black-a-leaky soup was gone pretty quickly. And then on to New Year, and New Year is also special for me. Like New Year's Eve, I always do something Japanese. And I've done that for a long time. It was just really dopey. There was one year, I'm talking about over 40 years ago, when I was living near White Plains in New York. And my wife and I, although we weren't married at that point, and still dating, we decided, well, wouldn't it be nice to do something Japanese for New Year's Eve? Let's go down to the Japanese store. And we had to go down to Hartsdale, which was near White Plains, where there was a Japanese store called the Mediya. And we used to like that a lot. We used to go there a lot. And it was always empty, I mean, they had one cashier. They had 3 or 4 banks for potential cashiers, but they only ever had one. And I thought, well, this will be easy because, it won't be crowded. So, complete ignoramus. So I go down to the Media. It is jam-packed out the door with like 6 cashiers and 150 Japanese people buying stuff because New Year's Eve is the biggest celebration of the year in Japan. And so, so I went in. But then subsequent years, I just went for a Japanese meal. Now I cook Japanese on my own, and it's very easy to get Japanese ingredients here in Cambodia. So I did soba. Now, soba is buckwheat noodles. It's absolutely classic New Year's Eve for the Japanese. And the simplest way is just soba poached in broth, in dashi, made with kombu and bonito flakes, and then served in the broth, maybe with a little garnish of green onion or something like that. But you can also be more extravagant, and you can add some other toppings, like I've got here, like some fish and some bean sprouts and an egg, although that's more common with ramen. But that general area of things. And then on New Year's Day, I always do Southern cooking from the United States, from when I used to live in North Carolina. And their tradition is black-eyed peas, which symbolize coins, collards, which symbolize green folding money, and that you have a bit of both to try to bring coins and folding money into your household. And you're supposed to eat poor on New Year's Day, because if you do, you'll eat rich for the rest of the year. And so that's always what I've done. Sometimes I make hoppin' john, which is black-eyed peas and rice, but this time I just made black-eyed peas with sausage and bacon and some collards, some leeks, and what they call pot liquor soup, which is the collards and their liquor that is what they're cooked in, not like hard liquor, and potatoes and bacon, and that was splendid. And I'm still kind of working my way through the tail end of all of that, and thinking about what 2023 has to bring for me. Well, don't know. I mean, I don't really want to be teaching anymore. I've kind of given that up, but I don't know what people are going to be trying to lay on me, because I'm one of the few experienced anthropologists in Cambodia, and they kind of need my help. So I don't know, but it's not my plan. My plan is to work on my writing. I've got a textbook that's due back to the publisher next month. If my co-author would just get off her butt. I've got a book called Messy Ethnography, an ethnography of England, due back to the publisher in April. I'd like to travel. Don't know what's gonna come of it though, because I really don't want to venture into pandemic land. Cambodia is COVID free, and I'm perfectly willing to stay here as long as it's COVID free, but who knows, can't say. I'm going to make a stab at improving my conversational Khmer with some students, but that's still under negotiation as well. I've promised to help them with some English lessons, mostly writing English, because they're going to be taking exams, maybe to either study in the United States or maybe to get a job or something like that. I don't know, but they asked me if I could help them out, and I said okay, but you're going to have to help me with conversational Khmer, because Khmer people don't speak to me. It's just impossible to get someone to say more than hello and goodbye, and if they want to say more, then they speak to me in English, if they can. I mean, if they can't, well then of course they just speak in Khmer. The staff of my building here are all monolingual Khmer speakers, and so I do have to know enough to be able to do things like pay the rent and get my tap fixed when it's leaking and those sorts of things. But that's very rare. I mean, the average Khmer person in the street will not even look at me, and ones that I encounter, like cashiers in the bank or in a market, will frequently not say anything, or just tell me the price of something. You know, like they'll say, yeah, this is, you know, like this is 4,000 reals a kilo, and that's it. You know, like all very, very standard stuff. But these students of mine have promised to give me time to speak in Khmer with them about various topics. Like probably what we'll do is we'll pick a topic of the week, and you know, let's say like going to school or going to the market, and then we'll do that after my lessons with them on English. We'll see. In the past, when I've tried to do that, I've had a lot of enthusiasm from students who then all of a sudden lose enthusiasm after about 3 or 4 weeks. So I don't know. Don't really know where to go in the way of traveling. I mean, I could go to England, but I don't really have anything to do there much. I mean, again, you know, I always have something I can do somewhere. You know, I you know, there's a Morris dancing tour I could go on in July. I could see my sister. Could go up to Scotland even and see my cousins, or not. But if I go somewhere new, it has to be somewhere where I'm really going to be visually impacted, because I like to take photographs. So I don't know, it could be Djibouti, could be Germany. You know, I've never been to Germany, but it's funny, I've been to all these strange exotic places, never been to Germany, never been to Belgium, never been to the Netherlands. So there could be a whole sort of low country tour, maybe, I don't know. Like maybe I could start off in Austria, that seems like a good idea, although I know Austria, sort of. I don't know Switzerland very well. So I could sort of, you know, like maybe do Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Netherlands, Belgium to England, you know, don't know. Have to think about it. Anyway, I wish you all a wondrous 2023. And in the meantime, please like this video, please subscribe, please tell your friends. And I don't know when I'll be back. Probably Plough Monday. I don't know yet. The cheeses of Cheshire and the rest of England might be calling me by then. So have a wondrous 2023.